Well, hello, interwebs. I'm the Rifter, and this is not my nightmare today. This is a tutorial, actually, on Aseprite, 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 I think. I don't really know how to pronounce it. I do like this program. I put an animation tutorial up on Hexels 3 a while back. Hexels 3 is a great program. I don't think it has a wide enough use. Aseprite does. Aseprite has a ridiculous community. Yeah, community is the word I'm looking for. And I was just going to go through some things that I do with it. And this isn't really a tutorial on how to draw things, so excuse me if the art is crap. This is more of what things do and how things work. This is also how I have my settings set. So if you don't like it, this isn't the default way, but I have changed a few things, and you might like the way I have it set up. So once you open Aseprite, you're probably going to be greeted by this window. And don't worry, it's not as intimidating as it looks. I didn't like Aseprite when I first started using it because I thought it looked just kind of like a coloring book. And for some reason I didn't like it. So you're going to be greeted by this. It's kind of a nice little home page. I think you can set where it doesn't pop up if you don't want it to. And I know that's a double negative, but whatever. I think you can set it up to not show up, but it's a fine page. And then you got the little guy up here with the sunglasses. I don't know why that's there, but he likes to flip his sunglasses down. Anyway, so you open this up, brand new interface. You're probably not going to have recover files, but sometimes this program will crash, and it could be because you have too much stuff open. It could be just there's an error that it can't handle and it has to close. That's why mine is there. And it's not that it crashes a lot, it's just when it does crash, it's nice to have the option to, be able to recover your session so you don't lose your files. But pretty much every time you click on something, it's going to open another tab here. So this is kind of like Chrome if you use Chrome. New file, width 16 by 32, RGBA. I want the background to be transparent. I don't know when you would use white or black background unless you're going to have a white or black background and you're going to change it, but you can do the same thing with transparent. You get your pixel ratio. I don't mess with this. It's just, it's a 2:1 ratio or a 1:2 ratio, which makes things look weird. It's almost like a perspective view to me, but I'd rather use an orthographic, so I use 1:1. So you press OK, and it opens it opens your new file. Now yours is not going to look like this. You're probably going to be somewhere around here. But before we get into this part of it, the first thing that I did, and you might like to do, which I don't ever draw, there's a setting in here where if you click and hold down with your mouse on the right click, you'll draw with the background color, which is this color. I don't ever use that feature. Click Edit, Preferences, and then you got to go to Editor, and then right click, Erase. So I use Erase. It's so much better than pressing E on the keyboard and then having to flip back to B. I use Erase a lot. If you don't use Erase a lot and you do paint with the background color a lot, you might want to leave it on right click. But if I make a mistake, hey, I can just do that. I don't have to go over here and click Erase and then erase, then go back over here and click pencil tool. It's just kind of a pain to me. So, of course, this is your toolbar over here. Or I don't know what the program calls it, but I'm calling it a toolbar because it's a bar and it contains tools. This is your color palette over here on the left, and then this is your color selector. You've got your brush thickness in pixels, you've got your brush type, which is your brush shape, and then you've got this nifty little thing, Pixel Perfect. I gotta admit, I thought I would use Pixel Perfect a lot more, and now when I'm using my tablet and I'm using my stylus to actually sketch on it, I use Pixel Perfect a lot. However, when I'm using a mouse, I do not turn this on because it's easier for me to click. I don't use a lot of big sweeping motions when I use my mouse. But just so you know what it does, I did a diagonal line. So that's without Pixel Perfect on. This is with Pixel Perfect on. You don't have, like, I know it put 2 right there, but I call them jaggies, I think, but you don't have a lot of jaggies. You don't have a lot of stair steps. It's just one solid line. So it helps if you're not going to draw like this with a mouse, but I do. When I'm using a mouse, I usually fill in like this if I'm too lazy to go over there and click the paint bucket tool. But now this is what it does. If you are trying to draw a square, it does this annoying thing right here. Like if you have the mouse on, or if you're using the mouse and you have Pixel Perfect on. Now if you don't have it on, you can draw a square without screwing it up. Pixel Perfect is just an algorithm to help you, to assist you in drawing, I guess I should say. It assists me in sketching in Aseprite. And that was my dog. Go lay down. So I set up my mouse just like this, and even in even on my tablet where I use my stylus, I still have it set up with right-click erases, which I guess I don't really need that because, I mean, I didn't even think about it. It's a Surface Pro, so my stylus has an eraser on it. I just flip the pen over, but I guess I'm just too lazy for that. I don't know. Never really thought about it. Moving on. If you're used to Photoshop, which most of you probably are if you're watching this, and you want to access your layers, you can press Tab. And by the way, you're probably going to get it down here at the bottom. Let's see, bottom. It's probably going to look like this. You can just click your settings button here and change it if you like it on the right. If I'm just drawing, I like it on the right. If I'm animating something, I like it on the bottom. And then I just adjust accordingly up or down. You've got onion skin. I don't use onion skin a lot. I just don't. It may be helpful for you, but if you want to turn onion skin on, it's this little square and square thing right here. And then your red is the past and your blue is the future. That's the best way I can put it to you. I don't use it. You can adjust what, whether it's a red-blue tint or it merges frames, you can adjust the opacity. I mean, there's a ton of options right here for it. You can do it behind. Behind's kind of hard to see. Usually you want to do it in front so you can actually see where the movement is going. And most of you are probably familiar with that if you've been animating for a while. This really isn't a beginner's tutorial, I guess. It's more of a tutorial for people who are used to graphic editing. They just don't really know what the deal with Aseprite is. Also, another helpful thing, if you want a list of shortcuts, which I highly recommend you have this open or memorize it, but help and then quick quick reference will open a Chrome page with every single shortcut for this program, and it gives you the Mac shortcut, and then it gives you the Windows shortcut. It has a legend at the top right, and it's real easy to read. That's the big thing about this program. It's very user-friendly, and the community is pretty large, and there's a lot of people on YouTube that have put a lot of time into explaining how this program works and how to use it. This is just stuff that I do. I know I've said that about 12 times. I don't really use shading because it kind of confuses me. There are places to use it, and it is useful for what it is. I just don't use it. I usually change the shades myself, or I will use replace color, which is another thing that's pretty helpful to know about. Another useful thing is canvas size. I love that I can change the canvas size like this, and I don't just have to input how big it is, you know, like how big I need my canvas. Because sometimes you don't know. Sometimes you want a huge canvas to work on, and then you crop down afterwards. So it's kind of nice. If you've got a figure on here, and I know it's just the greatest thing ever. If you hold down Control, it will tell you how far away from the edges you are. So if you hover over it, it disappears. But if you want to be equal parts way, you got 4 on each side. 9, which this isn't exactly equal, so it's not going to be equal, but you'd have to make your canvas bigger in this case, but you get what I'm saying. It's a very helpful tool, especially if you're doing sprite work and animations and you need to center it. Now, if you're doing that and you're just pressing new cell, then you should be fine. If you are doing animation and you need to make a new cell, Alt-N, it puts a new cell here. You can do that all day long. Control-Z is my best friend in this program. I know I have an eraser, but sometimes when I screw up big time, Control-Z is your best friend. If you want to make a new layer, I press Shift-N. Yes, Shift-N. That creates a new layer. And same rules as Photoshop. If you have the layer on top, then it's going to move the layer on top. Ooh, big shock. Hey, it kind of looks like a weird wizard hat. Yeah, I already got a wizard. Harry Potter one. Anyway, so I wish I knew how to structure these things better. How to use how-to tutorials, but with programs it's really difficult because you never know where someone else is going to start. And this is just kind of a, hey, jump right in. And this is not in depth. I don't go into effects. I don't go into adjustments, which this is kind of helpful. You can adjust your brightness, contrast, hue, saturation by layer. So if I'm drawing here, and then I got my second layer, and I'm drawing here, and I just want to adjust the hue on the bottom layer, I'll select the bottom layer and go to adjustments, hue, saturation, which you can't see it. There, you can see it now. And saturate your colors, desaturate them, take the alpha down where it's transparent. Woo. Anyway, it's very helpful stuff. I don't go through all that because not a lot of people use those settings. Which I guess I'll show you what you can do with these tips. This is a character I have created for a game. And let's see. got to go to view. You don't duplicate view, but preview. This is something I always have open. Also, I forgot to mention, I always have this open too. You've got your color selector here. A lot of you like to use hue, saturation, value. I do as well. I just shorten it up a little bit to right about there. And this always stays open, so no matter what I pick, I will have it open right here. That is something else helpful here. If you're a color fanatic, which I'm not that great with color, these are all of your color relationships. I'm not great with color relationships, but if I want to know what will go with something else, which complementary is not the right one, complementary is the opposite. You can look all that stuff up. Complementary is like purple and green, I think. Wait. Purple, yeah, no, purple and yellow. That's just what color stands out the most, has the most contrast. But you've got all these things monochromatic. I mean, discrete. I don't like using discrete, but some of you might. I usually leave it on square because it gives me complementary, and then it gives me the like alternate access of complementary colors. Anyway, I always have my preview window open, and I animate in layers because it's so much easier. But I always have this play button enabled, so I don't have to constantly see him doing it up here. If I want to actually animate something, I can see him down here in this window. And plus, it's about the size that it would be on the screen. You have a tagging system in Aseprite, which is very, very helpful. Especially if you just want to export animation and you don't want to export the entire sprite sheet. I mean, you can go to export, and then, I mean, these are all of the tags that I have in here. Looking around, walking, standing, layered, which if you're going to animate with this, I highly recommend you make a layer where it is your entire character all together. If you animate in layers like I do, like the front arm, head, sword, all that crap, if you animate in layers, please do yourself a favor and make a layer with the entire character. Because if you don't, when you try to do an effect like, well, that's not good. I think I opened the wrong project. Yeah, there we go. Open the wrong project. I was like, that animation looks a little bit short. I thought I had more. So the reason I like that preview open is because I can work over here. And as you can see, like he's in the, that's where his sword is glowing. But there's him walking. Here's him looking around. Here's him looking at his wrist. And that's the thing right there. If you don't have a whole body one, which, man, I don't have it in this one. I have it in the other one. But if you don't have a whole body, it is so difficult to animate something like this where you have to use all of the layers at once. Like you have to flatten it. I don't know. It was really difficult to do. Learned my lesson the hard way. Maybe some of you won't make the same mistake I did. Maybe. But that's, I call it the phase shift. He draws his power blade. And then, of course, his blade glow. But it's very helpful because it gives you these frames This is everything. Like, I can just export him walking and just export him looking around, looking at his wrist. Or you can export the entire thing too, just in a line. But it's very helpful because in export, you don't have to do a GIF or GIF if you're a weirdo, but you can export a sprite sheet. Where is it? Oh, there it is. So it's helpful when you want to export a sprite sheet. And you can do it by rows, but let's see. So you can just export walking, you can just export looking around, you can just export looking at wrist. It's really nice to export just those things, especially if you want individual files. Now to make these tags, so you've got to have a whole, at least one whole frame selected, so that means all of your layers. You can't just have this because it won't let you make a tag because the tagging system only works in frames. It does not work in cells, which, if you didn't know, these are frames on your horizontal axis, and on your vertical axis they are cells. But if you want to make a tag, just click and drag, highlight it, right click, new tag, and then put in whatever you want. If you have to adjust the beginning and end frame, that's how you do it. You can change the color of the tag if you want. You can flip the animation if you want, or the direction of the animation. It's kind of nice. It's very helpful. Anyway, that's just a quick tutorial. This probably ran a little long, especially for what it is. There's so many things you can do with this. I guess I could go over the tools real quick. If you can, make sure you learn your shortcuts. It speeds up your workflow so much. Like B is for pencil, Shift B is for spray tool. I never use the spray tool. I don't know why, I just don't. E is for eraser. So your eyedropper tool, if you hold down alternate while you're in pencil, come on, you hold down alternate, it turns into the eyedropper. So I don't ever use the eyedropper over here. I just press alternate and you can pick whatever frickin' color you want. Zoom, your mouse wheel zooms. I don't ever use zoom. Move, I do use move, but there's an easier way to use move. If you hold down control. I ripped his torso. Hey, I got your back, man. I didn't plan that joke. That actually just happened. That was organic. But yeah, you hold down control, and you can click and drag whatever layer you're on. Some of these are like repetitive tools, but this is helpful. G is the paint bucket tool. And then you also have Shift G for your gradient. The gradient is really helpful, especially if you want to fade and you don't want to do everything manually. Line, it's a bit repetitive. Now curve tool is not repetitive. Curve tool is completely different. But if you want to make a straight line, if you put a dot here and then go to where you want the end, hold down Shift, there you go, bickety bam. You got your line. That's all you have to do for line. And this, same thing. You just have to click and hold down. I think it's just a bit repetitive, especially when you can be using a pencil. Just hold down Shift and make a line. Shape tool is not repetitive. Shape tool is very helpful. Those are hollow, and then these are filled. Pretty easy. This is your contour tool. Draw a shape. When you let up, it's going to go right back. It's very helpful for custom shapes. So this is your straight line tool. You click and hold, drag, click, hold, drag, click, hold, drag, and just click again. You can make weird straight line shapes with it. I don't ever use it, but the curve tool is more helpful for me. Blur tool, I don't ever really use this. I might at some point, but that's what it does. It just makes crap blurry. I don't know when I would use it, but I'm sure I will eventually on some animation for some reason. Oh, and then your selection tool, which this is helpful. I use the magic wand tool a lot. It selects all of one color. It's this is on just his torso, his body right here. So you want to select all of one color, that's how you do it. And then Control D actually deselects everything. I hope this helps you. There's not, again, this isn't an in-depth tutorial. I might put one out later on. I've been using Aseprite for a month or two. I am by no means an expert, but those are a few things that are helpful for you to know. One last thing. So I'm not a huge fan of the background, the way it shows up. Yeah, so if you go to Edit and Preferences and then Background, you can, like, it's going to show up like this. It's going to show up like this when you have a new document. I don't like it like that, and you can reset it. If I was going to have it like that, I would have it checkered like this, but this is what it's going to look like. I do not like that. So I actually like one solid color. I don't know why. Weird. Apply. Okay. So you're going to have to do that before you open a new project. Yeah, but now every time you open a new project, you're going to have a solid color, which I know some people are used to the checkered. I don't like the checkered because sometimes I'll use a gray and I can't figure out what the gray is, and I don't know. I don't like using it like that. So anyway, I hope this helped you. If it did, leave a like, share, subscribe. Again, I'm by no means the great artist I once was. I'm trying to get better, but I do know my software. Again, later I may put up a more in-depth tutorial, but for now, hope you liked it. As always, thank you for watching. I'm the Rifter. Like, share, subscribe. Bye.